Hey everybody, you're watching Cadroll Hunter, and we've been making our way through this huge coin collection that I purchased. And what caught my eye today is this bag of what appear to be a bunch of old wheat pennies. And this little binder, it's not Canada cents, it's some real oldies wheat cents. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is James and you're watching my channel Cadroll Hunter. If you've been watching the channel lately, you have seen me going through the beginnings of what was a huge collection that I bought, what I'm now calling the Morris collection. This was Edgar Morris's collection. His son Tristan had reached out to me to let me know that he was looking for a good home for the collection. His dad had passed away a couple years earlier and we met and I purchased the collection. And there's tons of stuff. We've already looked at some silver quarters and dimes, dollars and half dollars. And today, what caught my eye was this bag of wheat cents. And when I was taking a look in the collection, I found this Canada cents album. But to my surprise, what is in here are wheat cents. And in the plastic, it's going to be a little hard to see the details, but you can see that these are pretty older. They're a little slick, but these are some very old wheat cents. I think what I'm going to do is start by getting the cents out of this album and show you what's in here, because I saw some really old dates. And then I don't know what's in here necessarily. I'm assuming they're wheat cents, so they're going to be probably 30s, 40s, 50s. What's in here are teens, 20s. So this might be the stuff that didn't end up getting put in here. I see some steel cents and other stuff. Really, really exciting. It's so hard for me to get wheat cents. I might get one every once in a while in my penny hunts. So this is really exciting. This is probably a few rolls worth at least, and there's some oldies and some goodies. So I'm gonna get these out and we're gonna take a peek. So we definitely have some very early wheat cents. There's a couple of 1910s. There's a 1911, a couple 1913s, a 1914, 1915, two 1916 Denvers, a 1907 Philadelphia, and a 1917 Denver, 1918, a couple 1919s, and two 1919 San Franciscos. And then in the 20s, we've got a couple 1920s, a 1920S, got a 25, a couple of 26s, a couple of 28s, and a couple of 29s. So that's a pretty awesome start. Some really early dates. Some of them are pretty slick, but some of them have some pretty decent detail for being that old. And now I'm really curious to see what is in here. So the question is this all of the oldies, or are there any more in there? Or is this more of the more recent stuff, the 30s, 40s, and 50s? We won't know until I dump it out. I think what I'm going to do is dump it out, and then I'm going to lay it out like a roll, and maybe we'll go through together. I'll set them out without trying to pay too much attention to them, like we're roll hunting, and I think that'd be pretty cool. So I've lined up about half of that bag there. You can see there's a good portion of some steel cents in there. You can see those shinier edges. The other half I haven't gathered up yet. We'll do these ones first, just to get a sense. Like I was wondering, is this all the newer ones? Although this one looks pretty slick. So that's a 1930. 1937, that's pretty sweet. 38. So I wonder if he had all of these in an album or something. There's a 1940 with a mint mark. I'm going to have to put it up on the screen to see it because I can barely make it out. And that's a 1940 San Francisco. Now I'm not all that knowledgeable on the rare varieties. I doubt a 1940S is rare or valuable. I know some of the teens, particularly with some mint marks, might be the ones to look out for. I know the 1922 is a key date, but seeing a San Francisco minted wheat penny in the 40s is not something I see very often. There's a 1945. 1939. So it looks like these are the more modern. There's a 1953 Denver. 1927. This is really, really cool. So here's a steel cent, 1943. I don't see a mint mark, so I think that's a Philadelphia. 1927, looks like a San Francisco. It might be damaged by the date and the mint mark. No, it's a Denver, 1927 Denver. Somebody's done something to that one though. Here's a 1940 with some pretty cool coloring. Let me know if that would qualify as a woody. What do you think? It's definitely got some kind of that grain look on it. Making my way through, and we're seeing some more from the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s. Here is a steel set that unfortunately is starting to rust out on the side. That is the trouble with some of these ones. There is another from the teens. I think that's a 1918. I'll throw that one up too and we'll see for sure. Yeah, 1918, a little bit of damage on it. But tons of old wheat cents here. We got 40s. There's the oldest one yet, 1909. I can't tell. I don't think that's a mint mark, but we'll put this under the scope and then we'll look to see if it has the VDB. So it has some interesting damage. It's a 1909 for sure, but kind of about right where the mint mark would be. I know that one of the things that people did was put an S mint mark on cents like this, but particularly if they were the VDB, because that would be the one you'd want to counterfeit. That'd be the one you want to fake because it was so valuable. I don't expect this is going to be a VDB, but we'll flip it over and find out. And it definitely does not have the VDB. So this might have been just a total coincidence that there's damage right there. I don't think this had a mint mark. It doesn't really appear that way. Let me know what you think in the comments below, if this is somebody's attempt to put a mint mark on that or not. And there's another S-minted coin, 1936 San Francisco. Here is another one with some really interesting coloring. It's a 1934, kind of has those same markings. Very interesting. And in pretty decent shape too, if you ask me. There's our first 1955, and I don't see any doubling on that one to get excited about, but it's a pretty decent looking coin. I have to say, it would be great if it had some doubling. Well, you got to check this out. This is not what I was expecting. I thought this was another 1943, but when I look at it, it's a 1957. Somebody has plated this coin, and it's not magnetic, so it's certainly not a steel coin. It's definitely been plated with something. I'm going to weigh it just to see what it comes out as. It should be like 3.1 grams, and I wonder how heavy the plating might be. So we already know it's not a steel cent because it's not magnetic, but if it was, it would weigh up 2.5 grams. If it was a copper cent, which it should be, it'll weigh up closer to 3.1. So we'll throw it on the scale. And 3.13, so definitely a copper cent with some plating on it. And you could see why somebody would be tempted to do this. Like the back of this coin just looks gorgeous, really shiny. The front, a little bit worse for wear along the rim there, but the back is just really beautiful. The last one of this bunch, really, really slick. And that's a 1901 something. We're gonna have to scope this one to see for sure. All right, it's a 1913, but you can see how slick this is. There's not much of anything left of Abraham Lincoln there. 1913. So here's how we're doing so far. We've got the 1909 at the far left, and we've got all of the teens. We've got the 20s. We've got the 30s, the 40s, and then just a few 50s up top here. We don't really have much, including that steel plated or something plated 1957. Maybe that's zinc. I've got the second batch here, but I think it's worth saying that the way that Edgar collected, as I understand it, talking with Tristan, is probably how many of us collect a lot of our coins, is through pocket change. You find something really old and you put it in a jar, you put it away, or you flip it up and put it in your binder, particularly foreigns. And I think that's how all of these came about. This was probably all pocket change. Change from a store, change from the bank, change from a purchase. And as Edgar would put them in his hand and see the coins that were interesting, or old, they would go in the bucket. And that's how they ended up here. And I think it was probably Tristan who put the older scents in the little booklet, not so much Edgar, because as I talked to Tristan, that wasn't really Edgar's thing, organizing them. He was interested, he put them away, separated them out, put them in a bucket, but that was pretty much it. But that leaves some of the fun here for you and me to go through and see what else is in here. And we're getting some oldies and some nice ones. There's another common 40s, 44. Another steel scent. All of the steel scents so far have been Philadelphia, just like this one here. We've got a little stack of them over there, and they're all Philadelphia minted. We haven't found any Denvers or San Franciscos. So far, a few more from the 50s, some from the 40s, and a bunch from the 30s, but this is another really slick one, and it's hard to tell, but this is another 1910. So far, no teens with an S mint mark, except for that a couple 1919 S's. But there's another 1950s that's seen better days. 1929. That's a 1950S. There's a pretty beat up looking 1943 Steely. 1949. This is so fun just seeing all these old wheat scents here. There's another oldie, 1911. No mint mark. 1941, that's a pretty common one. 1935. 1957 Denver. I watch a lot of US coin roll hunting, and whenever you see some of these oldies, I'm like, man, I wish I could find those. And I every once in a while find them in a coin roll hunt in Canada. Not always in the 20s and 30s and teens like this. There's a 39. But anytime I find one, I get excited when I see that wheatback. 1947 San Francisco. Do we have a mint mark on one of these guys? No, not that one. This one here looks like it could be pretty slick. It's in the 20s, 1929, 1930, 1918. Wow. Common 45, 37. There's a mint mark. I think that is going to be an S. I'll throw that one up. Yep, pretty grungy, but it's a 1943 S steel set, our first one with a mint mark. Just pulled out a couple of 1937s, and right behind them, this 1910 that looks to be in pretty decent shape. Better than many 1910s I've seen. And speaking of coins in good shape, here is a 1938 that still has a bit of red on it. That is really cool. Very good condition there. You can see all the detail. 1938. I'm going to throw this one under the scope, actually. Now, it's circulated and it's got some scratches and some wear, but that is pretty great looking scent for a 1938. Wow. So there is our board, as organized as it's ever going to get. And we found lots of goodies here. 1909, 1910, 1911, no 12, 13s, 14, 15, 16D, 17 and 17D, 18, 19, and a couple 19S. In the 20s, we got the really common 1920. We got a 1920S. We got a 23, 25, 26, 27, 27D, 28, a stack of 29s. In the 30s, 1930, we didn't get any of the other early 30 years. Those are all semi-key dates. But we did get 34, 35, 36, some 36S, I believe. Yep. There's a double die to check on the 1936s. We may as well check. We got a stack of them here. I'm not expecting that we're going to get it, but you never know. We've got 7 over here to check, and I've got my handy red book, and it just shows that doubling. You can really see it on the 6. I figure these 1930s aren't so slick that we wouldn't see it if it was there. And I don't think Edgar was looking for those sorts of things. I think he probably looked at the date. He wasn't certainly not scoping them. And so fingers crossed, you just never know. There's our first one. Looks like a pretty regular 1936. We'll never know if we don't scope them. Same there. Same there. I mean, it's not likely, but it's not impossible. And that's got to be the coin roll hunter's mantra. 1936. One more chance here. And that looks like a pretty normal, yet damaged 1936. Moving on, we got a big stack of 37s, 38s, including that one on the top that could very well be an upgrader in my book. We'll see. And 39s, and then into the 40s, we got 40, 40S, 41 and 41D, 42, 43, a stack of P's and one S, 44, 45, 46S, 47S, 49, and then into the 50s, 50S, 52D, 53, 54D, 55s, 56 P&D, 57 plated P&D, and a 58D last year Lincoln cent. This is awesome. I rarely get an opportunity to go through so many wheat cents and to pick up a bunch of oldies like this. I'm going to check my album and see if any of these might upgrade. I suspect not, but you just never know. And whatever doesn't go in my album, I'm going to tube up. I separate my Wheaties out by decade. So my 9s and teens along, and then the 20s, 30s, 40s, so I can keep track of them. And I've added a whole bunch to my collection here. Well, I pulled out my album and I did get two upgrades, the 1909 and the 1914. These are the ones that were in the album. If I open up, the 1909 that we got has some coloring on it, but more detail. And the 1914 was quite a bit better as well. Mine was pretty slick. I looked at that 1938, and in fact, it's not going to upgrade. And the reason why that is, when I looked closer, it actually had a bunch of scratches. Basically, I think somebody tried to polish it up. So that's why it had the appearance of a newer coin in hand. But when I looked more closely, it didn't stand up to scrutiny. It was not as good as the one that I have here. But here is my album. I'm missing some of the key dates, obviously. No 22D, no 22D, no mint mark. But once I get into the 30s, it starts to look pretty nice. That 37D is pretty shiny. And then they just get better and better into the 50s and into the 60s. And then I start to miss the S proofs when they started minting the S's, or as proofs. So making pretty good headway in there, and it's awesome to get an upgrade in a couple of really, really old coins. I'm going to tube these up and organize them into my collection. So there you have it. Thanks for sticking around as I look through a whole bunch of wheat cents. Here's what I do. I've got them all tubed up, so I have added them to these tubes. I separate them by essentially the teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and of course all my steel cents. I actually managed to top up 3 full tubes with some of the early stuff that we got. So I've got a full tube of each of those, and I've started on another one. So that makes me pretty happy that we've got tons of wheat cents, a whole bunch over 100 years old in this collection. Some really great stuff, and a couple of awesome upgrades to my Lincoln cent album, which is really, really cool. I really want to thank you guys so much for watching this video and joining me on this collection journey. Thanks again to Tristan and the family for letting me show you what we got from Tristan's dad's collection. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, Cadroll Hunter, and about 60% of you are not, go ahead and click the button and subscribe. I'd appreciate it, and you'll find out when more of my videos are coming out, including the rest of this collection that will be coming up in future videos. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it. We'll see you again next time. The sponsors of today's video are Lighthouse Canada and the Charlton Press. Lighthouse Canada is the leading supplier of high-quality numismatic supplies in Canada, and the Charlton Press is the leading publisher of coin and paper money catalogs and price guides for Canadian collectors. Go check out their online stores today and use the exclusive discount code CRH20 for 20% off all your purchases.